Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Sam, and good evening, Chief Baird. The clock's running already. Oh my God. Restoring Vancouver's Dignity is the name of my talk, and it came to me as a title for this brief talk as I reflected on my involvement as a municipal official. My complicity, my powerlessness, ignorance, helplessness, anger, frustration, defeat, and yes, the small victories in trying to change what I came to believe are senseless and dangerous policies that maim, injure, kill, and cause a great deal of pain to members of our communities, their families, and our society. These policies are the current policies governing illegal drugs in this country. Einstein's definition of insanity is exactly what we have been doing with our drug policies in Canada, and it is precisely why over 2,000 people have died in Vancouver alone over the past 17 years, of mostly preventable overdose deaths, and countless others have contracted HIV, Hep C, and other serious medical issues related to drug use. And these are not strangers. These are our sisters, our brothers, our uncles, our aunts, our mothers, our fathers, our children. Yes, I know we need to encourage each other to think outside of the box. And in the area of drug policy, you're not encouraged to think outside of the box. If you are a heretical, you are a legalizer, or you are wanting heroin in 7-Elevens, or whatever. You're just not encouraged. We need to do more of the same over and over and over again and see if the results are different. I believe that in a free and just society, it's no longer acceptable to criminalize people with mental health and addiction problems. We all collude in criminalizing people when no one speaks out against such policies. Policies that were developed over 100 years ago in some cases. Policies that attempt to deal with an extremely complex biopsychosocial, economic, and spiritual condition through police, courts, and prisons, the blunt instruments of the criminal justice system, while the deadly drug trade flourishes. The guys that you saw before, those are that group of men are the people that we choose to regulate and control illegal drugs in the Lower Mainland. They're gangsters from Abbotsford. Several of them are in prison right now, charged with murdering 6 people in a high-rise in Surrey. But that's what we choose. We choose the way to do it. In recent testimony before Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security on April 2nd, 2009, the Minister of Public Safety noted that after 3 decades of so-called deinstitutionalization of the mentally ill, we are re-institutionalizing mentally ill people in prisons. That we are in effect criminalizing the mentally ill. The same minister is on Parliament Hill this week, sorry Sam for the politics, pushing for mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses that will catch a huge number of young people and low-level addicted street dealers in the net of the criminal justice system, even though the criminalization of drugs has failed to achieve the objectives for which it is designed. We should acknowledge that unequivocally. It has excluded drug users and the mentally ill from the community, and we should welcome them back with open arms and all the love and supports we can muster. Criminalization of drugs misuses limited resources. That's the drug treatment center in Cambodia, because Cambodia believes in drug treatment. Those are family members, children, husbands, wives, who have been sent to mandatory treatment centers. This picture here is about solvent abuse, believe it or not. I didn't want to show pictures of young Native children in Davis Inlet, as we saw on the TV sets a couple of years ago. But when we saw those images of young children out behind their houses huffing gas, no one thought gas was the problem. No one said, let's prohibit gasoline, let's get gasoline out of those communities. We knew what the problem was. The problems were desperation, the isolation, the dysfunction and addiction in families, the legacy of colonization, depression, poverty, boredom, hopelessness, and on. What flag is that? That, my friends, is the flag of what country? It's a country that is now on the United Nations Security Council. Yes, but of course it's Portugal. That pesky little country of 10 million people. What did the Portuguese do? They thought outside the box. They used a different logic. They decriminalized all drugs for personal possession 10 years ago. How many people know that? How many people knew that? Yes, if you are an addicted person in Portugal, you will not be coerced into the criminal justice system. There's no way it can happen. You will, of course, be ushered towards health people and social workers and legal folks. They quietly and very astutely did this 10 years ago in an effort to walk the talk of addiction as a health issue, something we talk about, but we don't really apply. They're smart. No fuss, no attacks by the American drug warriors or the UN Office of Drugs and Crime. No wonder these guys are on the Security Council, and we aren't. They just did it, and they made it work. And now they are evaluating it. And you know what? Things are better in Portugal. They're not perfect. It's a difficult issue. HIV rates are down, overdose deaths are down, drug use among youth is down, acquisitive crime is down, access to treatment and health care is up. And most importantly of all, the sky has not fallen in Portugal. We could learn a lot from these guys. The Vienna Declaration, which was the slide before, talks about, it was a main policy document coming out of the AIDS conference, International AIDS Conference in July in Vienna this summer. And it was put together by a brilliant young doctor and many others around the world, but led by a brilliant young doctor at the Center for Excellence for HIV/AIDS, Evan Wood. And the Vienna Declaration states that the criminalization of illicit drug users is fueling the HIV epidemic and has resulted in overwhelmingly negative health and social consequences. A full policy reorientation is needed. So, where to from here? I challenge Vancouverites and British Columbians to get involved in putting a stop to this senseless criminalization of people who use drugs and have mental health issues. As they say in Newfoundland, where I once lived, looking at such a situation, the arse is out of her buys. We need to reconstruct our drug policies, and the Canadian Drug Policy Consortium, a national collaboration on creating a new drug policy for Canada, is emerging as I go over time. We need a new drug policy based on principles of public health, human rights, social inclusion, belonging, and scientific evidence. Thank you very much.